More on all this with our headliner, Republican Senator Thom Tillis of North Carolina, a member of the Judiciary Committee. Good morning to you, Senator, and thank you for coming on America's Newsroom.
Good morning.
What more can you add about what we're hearing about this threat and the way the United States has decided to respond to it?
Well, I think that if you take a look at Iran, you take a look at their malign influence across the world. They spend hundreds of millions of dollars a year, and they channel them into terrorist organizations throughout the world. And I think the president is right to stand up to them. We cannot stand down now, and we're going to have to manage the risks that go along with it. But I stand behind the president on his current position, and I think that it's good for the safety and security of that region.
His Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo, is warning Iran not to escalate the situation. Here's what the Secretary had to say in Russia.
We fundamentally do not seek a war with Iran. We're looking for the regime to simply stop conducting assassination campaigns throughout Europe, to cease their support of Hezbollah that threatens interests all across the Middle East, their support for the Houthis that are launching missiles into areas where there are Russians and Americans traveling. These missiles could easily kill a Russian or an American.
That all sounds great, but asking the Iranians to cease their support of Hezbollah seems a little bit pie in the sky, Senator.
Well, I think if you don't go after them, they're just going to spread their influence. Again, hundreds of millions of dollars a year go into these terrorist organizations. You're also talking about a country who aided and assisted militias that killed hundreds of American soldiers in Iraq during the conflict there. This is not something that we can allow to stand. There have to be economic sanctions. I think the president has proven that he doesn't want to fight wars. In fact, he wants to withdraw from areas of the Middle East. He does not want to provoke a war, but he also doesn't want to let a state-sponsored terrorist like Iran go unchecked.
Senator Marco Rubio has been responding in a series of tweets to the developments there, Senator, and he wrote this, quote, "The idea the president is creating a pretext to start war with Iran makes no sense. While I may not agree with him on it, the president wants to wind down U.S. military presence in the Middle East, not expand it. We can debate whether designation of IRGC provoked all this, but right now Americans serving us in Iraq are facing a serious and imminent threat. Iran needs to know that if they are attacked, a United States of America will respond decisively." Wanted to get your reaction to Senator Marco Rubio.
I think Marco's dead on, and I think that the only thing that Iran seems to react to is this sort of posture. We would like to enter into a good relationship with Iran, but I don't think under the current leadership that's possible. So you have to check any area of the globe that they're trying to assert their influence. So the president, and just what Senator Rubio said, the president is actually wanting to withdraw our military presence in areas of conflict that I think over time makes sense. This is not a president who's taking on a militaristic war-fighting posture. That's precisely why he wants to stay engaged in the discussions with the North Koreans. He's trying to make this world safer, not actually go to the brink of war.
Well, talking about war, there are accusations of this trade war with China. Some say that the president started it. Others say it was really started by China. But at any rate, your Democratic colleague, Chuck Schumer, is supporting the president when it comes to his approach with China. I wonder if the Chinese are taking notice that if the Democratic leader of the U.S. Senate is supportive of the president, he's got a lot of backing here.
Well, he does. I think we have bipartisan support for what the president's trying to do. Nobody likes a trade war, but China knows very well that a trade war would end badly for them. This president's demonstrated some courage here that past presidents, Democrats and Republicans, haven't. He recognizes that China is stealing our intellectual property. They're competing unfairly. They have a 50-year plan to dominate militarily and economically, and now's the time for us to act. And I'm glad to see the president get bipartisan support for what he's doing. It's long overdue.
Senator, before you go, I also want to ask you about the investigation of the investigators. Bill Barr appointing John Durham, the U.S. attorney, to investigate the origins of the Russia probe. I just wonder what do you think that'll turn up, and how do you think all this is going to go, as we also learned that Don Trump Jr. now has agreed to sit down with the Senate Intel Committee and answer more questions. A couple hours, I believe, 1 to 2 hours. He's already answered 20 hours or so.
Right. Well, let me take the last point first. I can understand why Donald Trump Jr. has been hesitant to come before Congress, because it's become a political circus here. We got House members showing up with buckets of fried chicken and rubber chickens. That's a serious way to deal with this issue. I'm glad that he's decided to meet, but I could understand why he would have refused to without setting certain boundaries, because it's clear a lot of these folks are just after a political narrative, not after the truth. And then on the first point, I think that General Barr is after the truth. He's wanting to make sure that members of the Department of Justice, the investigators, FBI, and other agencies that were involved acted properly. And all the actions that they took were well-founded. And I think that that needs to go probably even beyond the scope of the special counsel investigation, all the way back into the Clinton emails, and what we saw were not proper acts by FBI agents and people in the Department of Justice. So we have that investigation going on. We also have an inspector general. I think the two of those should either hold people accountable for improper actions or vindicate the process. Either one's a good outcome as long as it's based on facts.
Two separate investigations ongoing. Senator Thom Tillis, great of you to be here this morning. Appreciate it.
Thanks,
Thank
Senator.
you.
Thank you.